Okay, everybody, for today's brand deep dive, we're diving in with Molly Maid, and I'm here with Julie Davis. Thanks, Julie.
Absolutely, Lisa. Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
Excited to dive in on this one. Molly Maid's one of my favorites, right? You love anything that's home service, low cost to get into, recurring revenue. It's like a trifecta, right? Let's talk a little bit, if you want to tell everybody what Molly Maid is and what you do. I think it's in the name, folks. You're not going to
Yeah.
be surprised at this one.
We specialize in home cleaning, residential cleaning. Most of our franchisees just focus on the residential piece and don't move into the commercial, but we also have modules to help train folks on how to gain and grow into the commercial space. But we do start off focusing primarily on residential cleaning.
All right, perfect. And so big brand, right? I mean, I think I've been doing this for a while. It's not new to me. They've been around. So how many franchisees right now? I mean, you must have quite a few.
Yep. So currently, well, we're 40 years old. We're in 40 states, and we currently have 400 and about 70 locations. Yet we only have about 205 to 10 franchisees. So I love that
Okay.
stat because not only do franchisees come and stay, they come, stay, and they grow. And so when looking at our current system, Lisa, it's so cool to say our average tenure of our franchisees today is 15 years. We have some multi-generational families and franchisees that are now the grandchildren are also in the business. So it is very much a family-oriented type of business model.
Wow,
Yep.
that's an amazing stat. And I think it might be easy to possibly overlook that. So if you're watching this, franchisees at the end of a franchise agreement, the majority are going to sell or move on from the business. And so you have a majority or quite a few that are renewing. They're saying, no, I'm going to stay in this business. So it hasn't been that big of a headache.
Right.
It's obviously some money or they wouldn't stay in the business, right? So that's really
No,
cool.
absolutely.
Very.
And what is so cool, and just for you and your teams to know, we have great validation at Molly Maid. I was just talking to a candidate this morning, and she's ready for the FDD review, and then she's going to start meeting some existing franchisees. I have one franchisee that says, Julie, I want to meet every franchise candidate you're working with. I want to help them build a pro forma. I want them to understand this business forward and backwards. The help and the validation from the existing franchisees is unbelievable, right? So they come forward and they volunteer. I don't even have to go source them out. They come to me and say, we really want to help grow this business. So that's
Wow.
pretty unique.
That's unique too. Amazing. Very, very cool. I mean, that it's really saying a lot. Remember, again, when you're watching this or listening to this, they don't necessarily have a horse in that race, right? They have nothing to gain monetarily. A good franchisee understands that a larger system and a growing system will eventually benefit them. But truly, it's odd to hear a franchisee saying, no, I'll take my personal time away from my business to help you grow this franchise because it's that good. So I mean,
Yeah, no,
that's
yeah.
amazing.
He'll spend hours with candidates if they want. So.
Wow, that's awesome. Talk about the typical day of a franchisee. I mean, I think we've kind of pounded it forever that they're not in franchising. Very rarely are you working in your business as far as if you own a maid franchise, are you cleaning homes? But just in case this is someone's first rodeo, let's talk about what the day in the life of an owner looks like. And you can take that, Julie, to take it in the beginning when they're first standing their business up, first 6 months, year, and then, those tenured franchisees, I'm sure it looks different for them.
No, awesome question. So, one of the things that I think makes this business a little different is there's no emergencies, right? So, when you think about the home services space, a lot of those things can come with call outs, right? Weekends and evenings. I just shared it's 107 in Texas today. Might need an AC person, right? So, this is a home service company and offering that is Monday through Friday, largely 8 to 5, right? And so, from a work life balance, it really is a work life balance friendly opportunity. It also creates a good hiring advantage for your home service professionals. When you think about that labor force, right? Any business owner will tell you their number one issue is labor, right? So when
Right.
we can go to this unskilled labor force and say, 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, the other types of jobs that they're competing for don't come with those kind of predictable schedules. So
Okay.
it gives a hiring advantage as well. So day in the life of the franchisee. Starting out, you're going to be very involved in the business. It's probably you and one other that is going to start in the estimating, in the hiring, and the customer acquisition, right? And marketing.
Okay.
You're going to have all of the support, of course, but that's really going to be your bread and butter for that first 6 months. Then once you've really built out your team and you are really now just going to be the face of your Molly Maid in your community, right? You're going to be building your referral network. You're going to be reaching out to homeowners associations. You're going to be reaching out to anybody in your network that has a home, right?
Right.
And talking about your business. So we highly encourage joining the chamber, joining, any type of professional networking group, and then getting to know your other neighborly franchisees, right? We have one thing in common, and that's our customers. So let's work together to make them multi-brand customers. So those are some of the things that work really well for us at Molly Maid, especially being under the neighborly umbrella.
Absolutely. And I think that's almost a whole nother topic, guys, when we talk about the power that is the neighborly umbrella. Like you guys take such good care of your franchisees, the support from technology to what cars you're driving. Everything it seems can fall under that wonderful power, buying power that is neighborly. Talk a little bit about how you help them find those housekeepers and cleaners or
Sure. So we call them home service professionals, so HSPs. One
okay.
of the things that we learned after the pandemic, right, is this is the labor force that highly didn't want to return to work because they were really making more to stay home, right? And so we had to get really creative in how to source those employees, right? And so that in and not to go back to talking about neighborly, because I really want to highlight about Molly Maid, but we all have an opportunity to go in front of the brand compensation or investment committee every year with any kind of problems that our system is having. And so we went as Molly Maid and said, we're really having a hiring issue and it's really hurting our franchisees. We've got to come up with a hiring solution. And so Neighborly, with the resources that they had, they went out to research what could be a helpful tool. And they found and sourced something called Paradox. So Paradox is an applicant tracking system. So it is AI based. And what it did, Lisa, is first of all, it presented 44,000 applicants to our franchisees.
Wow.
What it also more powerfully did is it took the hiring process from 30 days down to 5 days and automated it all so
Wow.
that that franchisee was really just engaged at the last point. Of course, they set it up so that it sounds like them, it talks in their voice, it writes in their voice, but it significantly impacted and improved our ability to hire and retain home service professionals.
I guess as long as we're talking about labor, I'm just interested, how many home service professionals does a average or even a great Molly Maids franchisee have?
So each crew is going to be made up of two home service professionals. And
Okay.
even furthermore, the reason that it's so critical to keep it that way is we also have a recommended payment structure for employees, right? And so
Okay.
how do you motivate this labor force? And so it comes in that, we hire them in for probably the bottom of the pay scale, right? For what
Mhm.
somebody would be looking for a job, but they know that as based on their performance and their job timing, that they will make more money based on their performance. So they
Okay.
get very eager, and then that really helps with employee retention. They know that they can directly impact their ability to bring home more dollars. So that is a really rewarding way and a great management system for our leaders to be able to motivate that workforce. So it's very, very specific.
Talk a little bit about the item seven, total investment into the business, including the franchise fee, but then other like total all in, right? So even if it's a little bit more in working capital or whatever they need to start their business out, what are generally people getting into the business for?
So 138,000 to 200,000, let's just call it that, from low end to high end.
Okay.
What is going to fluctuate that is truly working capital. 50 to 70,000 of that is working capital.
Okay.
The other biggest line item is going to be the territory fee. So what I think is phenomenal about this is that investment is very soft cost, right? There's not a lot that you have to go out and purchase to be able to start this business, right? And
Right.
the items that you do have to purchase are very costly. So this business is very scalable. And so what we do at Molly Maid is we make sure we're so stringent on that capital requirement because we want to make sure everybody is well capitalized to get through that first year, right?
Right.
We don't want your home to suffer. We don't want your business to suffer. And so that's where we put so much focus on that working capital piece of it. We do fortunately have a pretty high SBA rating. And so lenders understand the unit level economics of Molly Maid. And so to get started, an SBA Express loan is always approved for people with good credit up to 350,000 to start a
Wow.
Molly Maid. So again, in that range of 138 to 200, we've already baked in 50 to 60,000 in working capital. And then now they're willing to loan to that rate if somebody needs it to further support that in their ability to step away from a W-2 job.
Perfect, perfect. And so they can pay themselves a bit to manage the business if they need to in the beginning, just to make sure that their family's not going to suffer.
Yep, absolutely.
Got it. Perfect. And so talk a little bit then on the flip side of that around the item 19 and the being generated in these businesses. Recurring revenue, like I said, it's just the trifecta there because it's
Sure.
something you can really build a big business and just scale it. But I'm interested to hear how yours is laid out.
Our item 19 is very thorough. It does bring in all of the equations to show that we are 91% recurring revenue. So our entire system last year was 91% recurring revenue. So we do show that math to prove that out. And then also in our item 19, you'll find that our average unit volume is just over 1.2 million in annual sales. So there is a healthy top line. And then, of course, you're supported by some of the best in class franchise business coaches to help you focus on all of your operational KPIs to make sure that bottom line is as healthy as that top line.
So talk a little bit, like what would be some of the profiles if I'm listening for someone to say, okay, they would be a really good owner. What am I looking for to say, okay, Molly Maid is one we should talk about?
I would say somebody who really has a heart for service, right? This
Okay.
candidate that I was talking to this morning, she recently got laid off in the tech world, which we're seeing so much of right now. And these folks that are coming from W-2 jobs that have that management background, that financial understanding of how to manage a P&L, but people who want to lead a workforce, right? And want to provide a solution for their customer. So that's heart for service is pretty critical. And then just to be a good leader, wanting to improve people's lives by employing them or cleaning their homes, right? This lady was so inspirational. She could have written our marketing because I told her she could have had my job because she was talking about how she has a heart for service and she wants to give people the gift of time. And that is exactly what we talk about with our franchisees. And it's exactly how we market to our core customers. We know who our core customer is, and so we know how to market to them. And we build our territories so that you have a greater concentration of those core customers in the territory. So all of the business model revolves around how to drive those leads to the franchisee, but obviously it starts with them.
How many crews are they starting with typically? And then how
Two.
are you coaching them? Starting with two crews.
So we never want, we're going to start doing some pre-marketing when they're in business training week. We never want somebody to not be able to be scheduled, right? So
Okay.
we always cautiously start with two just because there's always something more they can be doing, right? And so we want to make sure as we're building that customer immediately after opening that we're able to service them all. So we start with two. What I've been seeing since I've been here a little over a year and a half is that what we're seeing is folks are pretty much growing in that first year by a crew almost every quarter. Their
Okay.
business is ramping that quickly. And so that's phenomenal. That's what we look for.
Are the territories, do you need to have a lot of territories in this business to kind of feel like you have a foothold, or is it more optimizing the territory that you have, if that makes sense? For those of you that are watching, a lot of times with the home service model, one of the nice things about it is that you don't need to have this huge amount of geography. It actually is a diminishing idea for you because you have all this windshield time between one side of town and the other. But talk a little bit of the average Molly Maid. I mean, that's if they're generating over seven figures in revenue. I'm interested in how many territories they're needing to get in front of in order to do that.
That average is based on per territory. So that
Okay.
is just a single territory average. But many of our franchisees grow into multiple, but that stat is just for an average one. That's not necessary. And to your point, what we do is we create territories so that it's between 45,000 and 70,000 target households. So
Okay.
again, we're going to make sure there's a greater concentration of who we know our core customers are so that you can do that. And you hit the nail on the head, Lisa. I know it's not your first rodeo either. It's about penetration, right? So we know that that territory has that number of qualified customers. So it's about reaching them and penetrating deeper and deeper into your territory.
Perfect. Thank you. One more question, just kind of about the tech support. I think it's always interesting with the neighborly brands to take a home service business, and because your competition is mom and pops, right? Somebody with a mop and a bucket, I would guess, who
Right.
says,
Yeah.
hey, I can go do that. So
Well,
talk a little bit
yeah.
about that.
Sure. And it's funny, the competitive landscape's really changed. And I gave myself a real hard time forever, like referring back to the pandemic, right? The pandemic, but it really is something that changed all of our business models, right? And so I was reading an article in Franchise Times because the competitive landscape is right. We were competing against the mom and pops, the referrals that go from one neighbor to the other. But customers are looking for more. They want to see, they're very careful about who they invite into their home. So having a backed by neighborly guarantee, or you're Molly Maid, or you're backed by a brand, people know that you're coming in with the proper insurance, you're bonded, you're guaranteed, right? And so it gives people better comfort to, allowing people in their home. This is our haven, right?
Right.
And so earning that trust through the brand awareness, I think gives our franchisees an added advantage to be able to compete for that business. So,
All right, very good. Well, thank you so much. For those of you that are watching, if this is one that kind of strikes your attention, I would love for you to reach out. You can get a hold of me. We'll share Julie's information, and get you to the front of the line with Julie, because she does have a busy schedule. That's a popular big
and,
national.
and,
So thank
and
you so much. I really appreciate it.
absolutely, Lisa. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for watching. If you're ready to take the next step, Integrity Franchise Group is here to help. Click the link below or reach out to us today to schedule an appointment. Let's work together to solve that franchise puzzle and turn your business dreams into reality. We cannot wait to connect with you.